Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Monday night edition of The People Show with yours truly, Mark Wallace, here on intellectualradio.com, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and X, formerly known as Twitter. As I told you that we were going to be talking about the police-involved shooting that took place of Dexter Reed on March the 21st, and it has a lot of questions that need to be answered, but I think a lot of questions have been answered. And so while I am not going to rush to a final verdict, what I am going to do is I decided to go and look at all the general orders as it relates to vehicle police pursuits. And I'm going to provide you with the information that I have researched and discovered through that research of what the policies are. These are the latest directives, the Chicago directives on police pursuit, whether it be on foot, and in this case, in vehicles. We have 5 tactical officers in an unmarked car, in plain clothes. I watched all of the videos, including the videos of those that arrived on the scene after, as well as the 5 tactical officers on the scene, the 4 shooters, and the 1 injured. And it is disturbing. And the information that I viewed, as well as I talked to retired police officers or a retired police officer, as well as current police officers, to get some real context and understanding. But the rules speak for themselves. But here is one fact that's not going to be: Dexter Reed is dead. And another fact is Dexter Reed should not be dead. Based on the rules of engagement and the directives of motor vehicle pursuit and the motor vehicle pursuit policies. We're not even going to talk about, I know that today is a historic day with the first former president actually being on trial in a criminal case, which he should be, and hopefully will be held accountable for his criminal acts or alleged criminal acts. And but we'll talk about that another day. But what I do want to talk about is, and I just want to go through the facts. I'm going to go through the rules. I'm going to go through the policies. These are the Chicago Police Department directives as it relates to motor vehicle pursuits. Now, you have 5 tactical officers who, in their reporting, claim that they were pursuing Dexter Reed for a traffic violation. And the traffic violation was, the infraction was, that he did not have a seatbelt on. And he didn't have a seatbelt on. And the seatbelt policy or pursuit policy, but he didn't have a seatbelt on according to them. The question becomes, how could you, as a tactical officer who were not in your vehicle, because you had to get into your vehicle, and you saw that allegedly Dexter Reed did not have his seatbelt on with dark tinted windows? That's question number 1. Number 2, Why are 5 plainclothes tactical Chicago police officers pursuing a traffic violation at that level? Then even in the video, it took them a minute and 19 seconds to locate Dexter Reed, because it didn't appear that they were following him. It appears that they were seeking him out, that they somehow lost contact with him. When they got into their vehicle, they turned on their body cams, but they did not turn on the audio to the body cams. So we don't know what the conversation was, or what was being said, or who they were communicating with from the time that they turned their body cams on to the time that they reach the location where Dexter Reed, or where they caught up to Dexter Reed. They pulled Dexter Reed over, or boxed him in, coming from a different direction. When they exited the car, the 5 tactical officers all then turned their audio on. Now, I haven't read the policy on what is required in terms of you turning your audio on, or when your audio should be turned on. I haven't quite read that policy. But the problem is, we don't have all of those facts. We don't have what was going on in the vehicle. We don't have communications between them and dispatch, or them and a supervisor. If there were conversations between them and a supervisor, we don't know. That information was not available. The third observation was on a traffic stop. They got out of the vehicle. At least 3 of them got out of the vehicle with their guns drawn, which I'm told on a traffic stop, on a seatbelt violation, that is out of policy. So these are the rules that I'm going to read to you, I'm going to share with you. In the directives that, and I have all of them, and I am going to study them, and I'm going to bring them to you so that we can learn and understand what these directives are and what these requirements are. And then you can make a determination yourself. But one thing for sure, Dexter Reed should not be dead. And the reason why Dexter Reed should not be dead is because the Chicago Police Department, the department directives, clearly tell us that, based on what the directives are and based on what we see in the video, are not consistent. So let's look at the first part of the directive. This is the Motor Vehicle Pursuit Directive A. The initiation, continuation, and supervisory authorization of each motor vehicle pursuit must conform to the following balancing test. I'm going to read it again. The initiation, continuation, and supervisory authorization, meaning that it has to be authorized by a higher up? Was this authorized by a higher up? It does not appear that it was, but we don't have all the facts because we don't have what was being said either prior to them getting into their car or when they were in their car. We don't have that conclusive information, which we need to know. Did they get authorization from a supervisor to pursue Dexter Reed for a seat belt violation? A says again, the initiation, continuation, and supervisory authorization of each motor vehicle pursuit must conform to the following balancing test. What is that balancing test? The necessity to immediately apprehend the fleeing suspect outweighs the level of inherent danger created by a motor vehicle pursuit. Now, this is a part of the balancing test. Again, the necessity to immediately apprehend the fleeing suspect outweighs the level of inherent danger created by a motor vehicle pursuit. In other words, there cannot be a greater level of inherent danger to the general public to apprehend a fleeing suspect. Now, I'm giving you what the rules are for a vehicle pursuit. B, when applying the balancing test, members will, one, make a determination whether A, speeds involve the maneuvering practices engaged in permit the department vehicle operator complete control of the department vehicle and do not create unwarranted danger to the driver or others. Let me go back. The necessity to immediately apprehend a fleeing suspect outweighs the level of inherent danger created by a motor vehicle. Keep in mind that they said in their report that they were stopping him because he did not have his seatbelts on. 5 plainclothes, unmarked vehicle who did not announce their office when they exited their vehicle. So, when applying the balancing test, the police officers will make a determination whether the speed involved and the maneuvering practice engaged permit the department vehicle operator complete control of the department vehicle and do not create unwarranted danger to other drivers or the driver and others. B, the volume of pedestrian and vehicular traffic reasonably permits initiating or continuing the support. And whether the road conditions reasonably permit initiating or continuing the pursuit. 2, consider not initiating or determining an active motor vehicle's pursuit whenever the suspect's identity has been clearly established to the point that later apprehension can be accomplished without the risk of a pursuit. Put a pin there. They knew who he was. They sought him out. They could find him at a later time when it was safer to do so, and that there was no reasonable threat. Because, again, number 2 says, consider not initiating or terminating an active motor vehicle pursuit whenever the suspect's identity is or has been clearly established to the point that later apprehension can be accomplished without the risk of a pursuit. Consider terminating a pursuit whenever a pursued vehicle or pursuing department vehicle is involved in any property damage or traffic crash. Consider relevant information received from a helicopter support unit. Prohibitions. Here we go. Members will not engage in a motor vehicle pursuit whenever the most serious offense wanted for is a traffic offense, other than under the influence of alcohol and or drugs, or that theft, including possession of stolen motor vehicle. These are the prohibitions. Now, what I read to you is, again, the rules of engagement. But here are the prohibitions. These are in the Chicago Police Department's directives on emergency vehicle motor pursuits. Number 5 of that directive are the prohibitions. And it says that members will not engage in a motor vehicle pursuit whenever the most serious offense wanted. The most serious offense wanted for is a 1 traffic offense. Now, I really don't have to go any farther. Because it is the only offense that was alleged in the COPA's initial preliminary report and the press release. This clearly says that members will not engage in a motor vehicle pursuit whenever the most serious offense wanted is a traffic offense. Other than driving under the influence, he was not driving under the influence. They never said that he was driving under the influence of alcohol or drugs, or that he was in a stolen vehicle. Or he was in possession of a stolen vehicle. None of that was alleged. Members will not engage in a motor vehicle pursuit while there is an arrestee or non-law enforcement personnel in the department vehicle. I don't have to go any further than the first of the prohibitions. This was the lowest priority, if in fact that's what they observed. 5 tactical officers with all the other problems that we have happening and all of the other emergencies with respect to domestic violence. and more serious offense. According to these police directives, these 5 tactical officers violated several of those police directives, several of them. This, and number 5, under the prohibitions, that says that the members will not engage in a motor vehicle pursuit whenever the most serious offense was a traffic violation. Number 1. That is the code. Now, when we go back, again, you have to have supervisory authorization, and there has to be a balancing test. And we went down through all the serious ones, and we got down to the prohibitions, that where a pursuit is prohibited from taking place if, in fact, that there is a traffic violation is the most serious offense. And the traffic violation was the most serious offense because it was the only alleged offense. Nothing else was alleged in the report. And if it was a traffic offense that was the most serious, you're not even supposed to exit your vehicle with your service weapon unholstered. At least three of the five, when they exited the car, they unholstered their service weapon. You can see it on the videos. Not the videos that they show you on the news. I haven't even seen those videos. I have the COPA file, and I looked at all of the videos, and I continue to go back and look at them to see if I find something new that I didn't see before, or something that could give me bring me to a different conclusion. But there is not. Now, this is going to be very short. I'm not going to be on very long tonight. We have another pressing event out in Flossmoor, by where I have to be out there. And so, but I wanted to talk about this because I told you all that we were going to talk about this tonight. And I wanted to make sure that I just went through the rules of engagement. So let me just go through it one more time. And again, these are the Chicago Police Department directives on emergency vehicle pursuits. 5 tactical police officers, unmarked car, plain clothes. And it says that a motor vehicle pursuit, this is the motor vehicle pursuit policy. A, the initiation, the continuation, and supervisory authorization. We can stop right there. Would a supervisor give directions to 5 tactical officers to pursue someone that they observe not wearing a seatbelt, with all of the other problems that we have to face, all of the other problems that needs tactical police attention? A supervisor, is a supervisor going to direct 5 tactical police officers to pursue a seat belt violation in an unmarked car in plain clothes, that it took them a minute and 20 seconds to locate his position. And as soon as they got out the car, at least 3 of them immediately had their revolvers or service weapons, because they weren't revolvers, weapons drawn. And the 4th, which was the female police officer that approached the car first, pulled her weapon as well. So there are now 4 officers that have their weapons drawn. And the question is, why didn't they, when they asked him to roll his window down, and he did roll his window down, then he rolled it back up and he locked his doors, which is considered to be, according to the information that I got from the other police officers, that he was considered to be, at that point, a passive non-compliance subject. And according to police training, a senior officer on that scene should have said to the other officers, stand down, let's call for supervisory direction. Let's call for a supervisor. None of that took place. There was a bunch of screaming, yelling, cursing, emotions getting high. And then there were shots. The one officer on the passenger side got hit in his hand first, and the other 2 officers on the driver's side retreated back and then engaged shooting. Now, my contention is that this should never have happened. This should not have happened. It should not have happened at all, because this was a seatbelt infraction. Now, never do we condone people shooting at the police. Dexter Reed should not have shot at the police. If you engage in shooting at police, it is not going to be a good outcome in most cases for you. So, under no circumstances am I in any way, shape, or form saying that somebody should be shooting at a police officer, because you shouldn't be shooting at a police officer or police officers. Number 1, it's wrong. Number 2, it's not going to end up good for you in most cases. And in this case, it did not end up good for Dexter Reed. Dexter Reed is dead. They fired off 96 rounds, according to reports. Hit Dexter Reed multiple times. That said, this should never have escalated to the point to where Dexter Reed was in a position to shoot at a police officer, or the police officers were engaged in a shootout. It should never have happened. There are too many of the police directives, policies that were violated long before they got to the location. And that's what I am referencing, that this should not have happened if they had operated within the boundaries of police protocols. They would not have been on the scene. They would have not sought Dexter Reed out. And Dexter Reed would not be dead at the hands of police. And so now we have this situation where we have another police involved shooting, and we have a community that has a lot more distrust in our police. And we shouldn't. And I would encourage you to temper that judgment if that is where you've gotten to. And I certainly would encourage Superintendent Snelling, Mayor Brandon Johnson, and COPA to get to a swift, thorough investigation to make a full determination on what happened. And the thing that they need to be able to investigate is what was said to them. Did they talk with a supervisor? Did they not talk with the supervisor? What was being said? What was being communicated in the vehicle for that minute and 20 seconds that the body cams were on and there was no audio? So they have to get all of those facts. We don't have those facts. So, and since we don't have all the facts, I don't think it's appropriate to rush to a final determination as to what should happen with the police officers. I just wanted to give you the information. I wanted to give you the facts of the police directives and the protocol, which shows that they should never have been there. They should never have been there. Dexter Reed should not be dead. There should never have been an opportunity for Dexter Reed to fire a shot at police officers or police officers to get into a gun battle and kill Dexter Reed because they're defending their lives. They should never have been in that position. They should never have had to get into a defensive position to protect themselves. Yes, you have to protect yourself, but they should never have been in that position. There was no reason for them to be there, no legitimate reason whatsoever for them to be there, according to their own report. No reason whatsoever. We're going to have to talk about this, but I would again implore the administration, Mayor Johnson. Of course, he's got to allow for the process to take place, but there needs to be a swift, thorough investigation with all of the facts, and then there needs to be a swift disclosure to the community, because it doesn't appear these police officers violated some protocol, even if they did have a supervisor. They violated the protocol because it says that you shouldn't be going after people with low-level traffic violations. Number one. So if they did have a supervisor that directed them to go after somebody because they didn't have their seatbelt on, that supervisor, if in fact there was that, which I don't necessarily believe that there was because I didn't see that in the report. But I'm going to be talking about this. I'm going to be talking about this with Martin Johnson. I'm going to talk about it with some other people. We're going to talk about this because it's continuing to happen. It's continuing to happen. And what is it that we can do to stop this from happening? Is there anything that we, the public, can do? Is there anything that we, the public, can do that can stop this senseless continuation of killing people on traffic stops by police? And don't conflate this with other shootings that people are involved in. Don't do that. Don't conflate this with that, because they're not. They are segregated. So don't conflate or try to mitigate what took place based on what we know that's happening in other areas of our communities with people killing and shooting each other. It's just as horrific, but don't conflate the two. So there's more questions that are going to be answered, more questions that are going to be raised. But I hope that the mayor, and I hope that Superintendent Snelling, who spent most of his career at the training academy, I intend on finding out more of the information. I'm going to study the information on use of force. We're going to talk about that, and I'm going to read off what the policies are. I'm just going to give you the information, and then you can certainly make your own conclusions. I am not going to speculate, and I'm certainly not going to give a verdict. All right, I'm going to have to leave it there for now. Right, this is very brief, but I certainly wanted to talk about that and wanted to give you that information for you to have, for you to know, for you to understand that these are the policies. And then you can make your own conclusion based on the policies, based on the information that we shared from you. All right, we'll be back with another full edition, of the People Show on next Monday. We're going to be back. We're going to have some guests, and man, we went around this weekend just briefly, and we went to the Chicago art exhibition at Navy Pier. Met and saw some wonderful, wonderful Black art, and Black artists from all over the world. Black artists from South Africa, Black artists from Ghana and Africa and other France that we are able to see. And we're going to try and get some and bring some of those artists onto the program so that we can introduce them to our audience and talk about their work and their journey. But it was a wonderful, wonderful time that we went to the Chicago art exhibition at Navy Pier on this past weekend. All right, until next week on the Monday night edition of the People Show on intellectualradio.com. We're on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and X, formerly known as Twitter. Make sure that you share the podcast with someone else and on your social outlet. And so that helps to increase our audience. And look forward to seeing you again next week, right back here on the Monday night edition of the People Show.